We are back with our friends from Service Dogs for America.
With us today, we've got Jen, Connie, and Billy. So you guys, welcome back to the show. It's always great to see you. Thanks for bringing Billy in. Can you tell us a little bit about Billy?
So Billy was born in April. He's most likely going to be trained for PTSD as well. He's an adolescent, like the dog that I brought last time. And so we talked last time a bit about managing the environment. And so I am managing the environment today by bringing him a Kong, a dog toy stuffed with food. And I'm hoping that'll help keep him busy while we're talking.
Do you smell Piper?
Hi, yes.
Huh?
Oh, I forgot to ask if I could pet her, but
Right.
or him.
Yeah.
Him.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that as well. The training that these dogs go through, much more than the average dog who just goes to an obedience class. It starts very young, and how is it different from a dog that's you're just going to bring into your home?
So as we've talked about, the socialization, huge, taking him out to different places. We also use something called clicker training or marker training. And so it's a form of positive training. And so when a dog learns something, they learn by association. And so for that to happen, what we do is we use either the word yes, or we use this, and it's a clicker, so it makes a distinctive sound. And whenever I hit that clicker, it means that Billy has just done a behavior that I wanted him to do. And we start with that training very young. We do something called load the clicker, and so all I do is I click and then I treat, and I click and I treat. So then he learns to associate that good sound with good things.
Oh, wow.
And so that's our positive training. So whenever I see him do a behavior that I'd like him to do, I click, and he gets a treat. And so then he associates doing those behaviors with those good things.
And to go back to your question, how is it different from a dog that you have in your household? I think all dogs, there's really no such thing as a bad dog, right? It's just good training. So even the dogs that you have in your home have basic obedience, manners, and these dogs learn all of that. The difference comes is when they learn tasks that are specifically associated with someone's disability. And those tasks that the dog is going to do for them will help them fully gain independence back into their normal life. Whether it's turning on a light for someone or helping them take off their socks or opening the refrigerator or getting medication, those types of things that they can't do for themselves, that's where those behaviors will differ from a normal pet.
And so the first couple years, well, the first year really they're just spent getting them accustomed to being in public and getting used to different sounds and noises and smells and learning manners, because that really is the biggest thing for a service dog. And that's what I've learned over the time that I've worked here, is they have to maintain composure no matter what is going on. They have to be focused on their person and do their job. So that's really what the first year is about. It's about getting them to be accustomed to new places.
You mentioned that you're going to train them specifically for PTSD. Like, what's that distinction? How do you do that?
So what a PTSD dog does is provide comfort for that person who has PTSD. So a person with PTSD has spent much of their life trying to stay out of the limelight, to stay out of public. And what we want our dogs to do is help people assimilate back into the community. And so we'll teach them a command called block. We're renaming it to front. It's just a more positive sounding name than block. But what the dog does is provides a barrier between you and what might be making you nervous. So it's a source of comfort, really. They can do something called grounding, and that's when they would lean up against you when you're in that position. And that's sort of like deep pressure therapy. So I don't know if you've worked with people who have autism or are aware of it, but deep pressure therapy that, yes.
I guess my question is, how does the dog then build that connection with its owner to know, oh, this person's experiencing PTSD or having something that's bringing up those emotions?
So even though our dogs are taught to, say, go into a sit position and maintain that position, a PTSD command can trump that other command. So, for example, I think I mentioned this on set before, but the very first time I did a demonstration for a community group, I was super nervous. Had a dog named Elliot with me, and I told him to place. So he was to remain on this blanket. I was very nervous. He came up to me, and I said, no, place. And a couple seconds, there he was. And so he knew how he was he was doing the PTSD command. It trumped that place command, and he came right in front of me and provided that barrier between myself and the audience. And same thing with Jeremiah again. You know, remember when Ida was here? So pause up, that's another behavior for, or a task actually, for a PTSD dog, is to do whatever they need to do to bring you back to the current state and take you out of that nervousness. So that's what the pause up does.
And most of the time, to expand on that just a little bit, the dog isn't asked to do those commands specifically. It cues into the human's physiology, whether we're talking about an elevated heart rate or the breathing pattern changes. Or, for example, if you take a deep breath, that dog will cue into that being some type of physiological change for you, and it knows to then provide some type of task or behavior.
And dogs are masters at reading human body language. And so people don't really realize that. So we've been asked before about seizure dogs, and we don't say that they will alert prior to a seizure, but it has happened. And one of the reasons could be because maybe a person has some sort of a tic right before they do their seizure, and it's so minute that we don't see it, but dogs are so good at reading us, they notice it. So.
It's really incredible what you guys do and what these pups do as well. Thank you so much for coming in. The Service Dogs for America. Billy, thank you so much. What a good pup today. Yeah, for an adolescent.
Managing the environment.
Yes, for sure. All right, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be right back here on North Dakota Today.